Have you ever been in a conversation with someone where no matter what you say, the conversation somehow becomes all about them? You share something important, maybe a personal achievement or a struggle, and instead of feeling heard, you walk away feeling invisible. Sounds familiar? You might be encountering a narcissist. But who is a narcissist? What traits do they exhibit? How is a narcissist made? Yes, a narcissist is made, not born. Most importantly, why do they act the way they do? By the end of this video, you will know the who, what, how, and why of narcissism. You will be able to spot a narcissist, infer what made them so, and understand what subtype of narcissist they are. Spotting a narcissist is not that easy. The first thing we often notice about a narcissist is their charm and confidence. They may come across as highly charismatic, self assured, and engaging. Their ability to draw attention to themselves and make a strong first impression can be compelling. But are these the true colors of a narcissist? What's going on in their minds? Why do they act like they do? But hold on. Why is it even called narcissism? It's like a word that trips over itself before it finishes. A word I will most likely butcher many times throughout this video. The strange term narcissism comes from the story of Narcissus from Greek mythology. On a fateful day, he for the very first time looked at his own reflection in a pool of crystal clear water and couldn't look away. Narcissus became so enchanted with his own image that he never left and died gazing at himself in the pool of water. His obsession with his own qualities to the point of forgetting the world made his name Narcissus a synonym for self-centered behavior and later became narcissism. We all have self-centeredness. For example, posting a selfie and hoping for likes, feeling proud of something you achieved and wanting others to know. That's all normal. It's part of being human. But for some people, it can go overboard, turning into a defining part of who they are. Behind that facade of charm, superiority, and apparent confidence lies fear and insecurity, a desperate need for admiration and validation. Like a house built on sand, it lacks a solid foundation. The very first cracks we notice about a narcissist is their obsession with their self image, their craving for compliments, and their need to be the center of attention. They have to be the talk of the town. Everyone's eyes should be on them. It's like holding a magnifying glass to yourself all the time, making everything about you. Lost in their need to look extraordinary, they can never look outside themselves and therefore lack empathy for others. Narcissism is a complex psychological pattern, one that can be devastating for the narcissist and the people around the narcissist, especially their children. But why do these people act this way? Why do some people seem obsessed with being admired while others are content without the spotlight? There are two common pathways to narcissism: over-validation and under-validation. Both leads to an unhealthy sense of self, but they take very different routes. Imagine a child raised to believe they are the center of the universe. Everything they do is applauded, every desire met, and every flaw overlooked. These children are treated not just with love but with excessive adoration, creating an inflated sense of entitlement. A good example is Dudley Dursley from Harry Potter, the child spoiled by Harry's aunt and uncle. They shower him with gifts, food, and admiration for no good reason and with no limit. Dudley is so spoiled he throws a tantrum because on his 11th birthday he received only 36 presents, two fewer than his 10th birthday.
How many are there?
36. Counted them myself.
36? But last year I had 37!
Such overindulgence teaches children that they are inherently better, more deserving, and above everyone else. But this adoration often doesn't match reality. The child's ego becomes a fragile fort built on compliments rather than true accomplishments. Once these children grow up, society no longer mirror their parents' blind praise. Whether it's rejection, criticism, or even indifference, the world inevitably pokes holes in their grandiose self image. Any normal child will know and appreciate that things are imperfect in one place or another. He or she understands it is impossible to impress everyone, as they have experienced and felt disappointed by themselves in healthy quantities. However, even with the imperfections, they know that they have value. So they can take criticism and still be happy with their work and ultimately be happy with themselves. On the other hand, the over-validated narcissist never actually received true feedback. They were handed down a grandiose self-image. They just believed their shit to be perfect because they were constantly made to feel that way. Such a person cannot fathom imperfections. The narcissist cannot live without a grandiose self image. They will try to protect it with all their will. As society starts to poke their built up self image, the narcissist becomes aware of the gaping hole beneath his castle. If the built up self image breaks down, they have nothing left. And nothing is the most terrifying thing for the narcissist. Every criticism, insult, remark, or anything short of a standing ovation hurts the narcissist. And any animal that's hurt responds in one of two ways: anger or sadness. Let's start with anger. Now, the narcissist who believes himself to be supreme is hurt and needs to restore his pride and the feeling of being above everyone else. How does he do that? The most primal way to do that is by hurting others who are weaker than them. Joffrey Baratheon, or should I say Joffrey Lannister from Game of Thrones, is exactly that kind of guy. Joffrey is the epitome of over-validated narcissist. Over-validated by his mother Cersei, he grows up believing he is untouchable and inherently superior. He internalizes the idea that he is superior to everyone because he is the king.
I am the king!
His arrogance, pride, inflated self image manifest in cruel and petty ways, often at the expense of those who cannot fight back. Joffrey's sense of superiority isn't based on real achievements or strength, it's entirely fabricated. He's the kind of person who names his sword Widow's Wail to reinforce his grandiosity, although in reality, he couldn't behead a person even if the person is chained and put on an execution block. His cruelty is not strength, it's a desperate attempt to project the power he doesn't truly possess. The only way these powerless men who need to feel powerful can actually feel powerful is by bullying the weak. The bullying can be physical or mental, in isolation or among people. They get their satisfaction either by indirectly making someone else the point of ridicule or through displacement anger, which is a phenomenon seen across many wild social animals where a frustrated member of the group takes out its frustration by hurting a beta member for no good reason. This is the school bully, the husband who beats his wife because someone said something not nice to him or just because he is not particularly feeling powerful that day. This type of narcissist is called the malignant narcissist, probably the most dangerous form of narcissist. What happens when such a person becomes a parent? For narcissistic parents, their child is not just an individual. The child becomes an extension of their own ego. While it's natural for most parents to feel a sense of pride in their children, narcissistic parents take it to an unhealthy extreme. They see their child not as a person to nurture, but as a reflection of their own perfect or imperfect ego. Because the narcissist cannot be imperfect, now the child cannot be imperfect. The only day a narcissist would feel good and appreciate a child is when the child gets exactly what the narcissist wants: conditional love. You are only valued when you boost your parents' ego and make them look good. If you fall short, the affection disappears instantly, and an unfair amount of criticism, ridicule, and shame are dumped onto you. You are left feeling worthless. Almost most of the time, what the narcissist wants is so over the top that a child, if not an adult, will not be able to give it. And every time the child falls short, because of which the parent has to feel bad, the child will hear the most hurtful things. They make the child feel like a useless piece of shit. Remember? The child could have come second in a race or sang a song almost perfectly, but that one asshole of a relative had to point out that one note that she missed. That's all that's needed. The abuse can be physical or mental, neither of them any better than the other. The only way the child can survive with himself is by keeping himself up to that standard. The child is forced to believe in being supreme over others, and the child obliges. As the child grows, they build a self image that's supreme. Because if they don't, they cannot accept themselves, as their parents wouldn't accept them that way, as the parent cannot accept feeling less than supreme. Do you see the chain of influence? For the child, grandiosity is a defense mechanism to mask their underlying feelings of inadequacy. Any time the grandiose self image breaks, the adult child will fall into a gaping hole of nothingness. This is the recipe for vulnerable or covert narcissists. These individuals have a fragile sense of self and are often more sensitive, anxious, and withdrawn than their overt counterparts. While they too feel entitled and self important, they are plagued by self pity and insecurity. Unlike overt narcissists who openly seek admiration, covert narcissists do not actively ask for it, but they need it desperately. Any slight, rejection, or criticism triggers deep resentment. Confrontation is difficult for them because they are hyper aware of their weaknesses, which they perceive as overwhelming, even if others might see them as normal or even positive traits. Lacking confidence or power to address conflicts directly, they resort to passive aggressive remarks and sarcasm. Like their malignant counterparts, they too are capable of deception, manipulation, and malice. These individuals often blame external factors for their lack of success, fostering deep seated resentment, hatred, and self pity. Covert narcissists react to hurt with sadness rather than anger. Unlike malignant narcissists, this inward response, known as internalization, contrasts with the externalization of anger typical of overt narcissists. Everyone has an internal sense of how others perceive them. For most people, this perception is balanced. They have a reasonable, justified view of their own abilities and actions. However, an overt narcissist assumes others are in awe of them. When this belief is challenged, they react with anger. In contrast, an undervalued child, the covert narcissist, develops a harshly self critical lens. Even their strengths never seem good enough, they learn to anticipate negative judgment at every turn, as if each action will be scrutinized and deemed insufficient. To feel normal, they need others to see their abilities as extraordinary. They desperately require external validation. Given their constant expectation of scrutiny and judgment, they tend to show avoidant traits, where they avoid people and social situations. This sense of constant self monitoring becomes ingrained, where feeling good about themselves is only possible when they can meet an impossibly high standard. This fear of harsh judgment and need for external validation undermines their self confidence, leading them to constantly seek approval but rarely feel secure in it. Imagine the life of this poor kid, a desperate need to be awesome paired with a hypercritical inner commentary. Imagine the daily struggle of someone constantly torn between ambition and self doubt. They desperately crave success, driven by a need to prove themselves. But before they can even take a single step forward, their mind relentlessly undermines them. Every idea, every attempt to create or achieve something is met with a barrage of criticism, telling them they are destined to fail. It's as if their own mind becomes the harshest obstacle, drowning out any sense of progress or possibility. The desire to reach greatness is suffocated by a constant internal voice, convincing them that their efforts will always fall short, leaving them stuck in a cycle of frustration and fear of failure. Children of covert narcissists experience a similar emotional roller coaster as those raised by malignant narcissists. Driven by extreme insecurity, covert narcissists also offer only conditional love to their children. When disappointed, they lash out in deeply hurtful ways, saying things like, "Why did I get children like this while everyone else gets good ones?" Such words erode the child's self worth and leave lasting scars. At work, covert narcissists can present as charming, polite, and jovial with their superiors, carefully curating an image of likability and competence. However, this facade disappears when dealing with subordinates, towards whom they can be cruel, dismissive, or demeaning. This duality reflects their constant need to manage how they are perceived by those they see as powerful while exerting control over those they deem weaker. This blend of insecurity, conditional affection, and inconsistent behavior makes covert narcissists particularly challenging to understand and interact with, both at home and in the workplace. Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones is a quintessential narcissist. Convinced of his own superiority and that of House Lannisters, his parenting style gives rise to two different flavors of narcissism in his children, Cersei and Tyrion. In the Lannister household, entitlement is the family creed, but not all siblings receive equal portions of Lannister entitlement. Cersei internalizes this entitlement, but is painfully aware that she is in the spotlight of Lannister family and power. Jaime gets that. To solidify her fleeting sense of entitlement, Cersei focuses on acquiring power. Cersei's first move to secure power is inconspicuous. She uses her sexuality to control the most powerful person in the house, her twin, Jaime Lannister. Many assume she genuinely loves Jaime, but this is a pretense she herself might believe to be true. People often aren't aware of the distortions within their own psyche. Circling back to Cersei, Cersei uses him as a pawn, and when her power eclipses his, she discards him, only returning to him when she becomes powerless towards the end of the series. In her relentless pursuit of power, Cersei spares nothing, no matter how extreme. She burns cities, orchestrates mass murders, tortures peoples, and commits atrocities that even Joffrey, her sociopathic and sadistic son, couldn't dream of. While both Joffrey and Cersei are malignant narcissists, she is far more manipulative and cunning. Cersei also exploits her children for power. When she begins to lose control over her son Tormund to Margaery Tyrell, she does whatever is necessary to bring him back under her influence. Tyrion, in contrast, grows up grappling with the conflicting dynamics of Lannister entitlement and his family's unrelenting scorn. He is both elevated by the pride of being a Lannister and crushed by the way he is treated, as if he is a stain on the family's name. If Kafka's metamorphosis took place in Westeros, Tyrion would be Gregor Samsa, transforming into a metamorphical insect condemned to his family's scorn and rejection. This duality breeds covert narcissism in Tyrion. What comes out of it is sarcasm, self-pity, and a desperate need for love and approval. A deep sense of sadness blankets him, to forget which he drowns himself in liquor and a barrage of prostitutes. Numb your brain enough that it cannot feel anything, or entertain it so much that it cannot think about anything else. One other covert narcissist from Game of Thrones is Peter Baelish, also known as Littlefinger. He uses manipulation, charm, and subtlety to climb the ladder of power. Unlike overt narcissists who seek attention and dominance openly, covert narcissists like Littlefinger operate in the shadows, masking their grandiosity with an outward appearance of humility and helpfulness. He is a master manipulator, exploiting the weaknesses, desires, and insecurities of others to achieve his own ambitions while maintaining an air of humility. He subtly steers people like Sansa Stark towards his agenda, using their emotions and vulnerabilities to his advantage. Beneath his facade of relatability lies a deep belief in his superiority, epitomized by his famous line, "Chaos is a ladder," reflecting his ability to thrive in disorder. Obsessed with control, he orchestrates betrayals, murders, and alliances to stay at the center of the political game, all while hiding his grandiose ambitions behind calculated charm. The phenomenon where two children of the same parent developing opposite personalities is not unique to the Lannisters. It occurs in many families and situations, often rooted in their contrasting reactions to feelings of hurt, anger, or sadness. For a modern example, look at Two and a Half Men. Charlie Harper embodies the rebel archetype, reacting with anger and defiance, while Alan Harper represents a self pitying, sadness driven personality. Though their responses are different, the emotional hurt at their core stems from similar origins.
When your brother's marriage ended, yes, I know, Alan, blah, 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 and he chose to move in here, your coldness towards your mother became more than just the behavior of an ungrateful son. In this house, you're like a human barnacle.
Thanks, Mom.
I wasn't putting you down, sweetheart. It's good that you have a skill.
Did you come over for a reason or just to insult me?
The two aren't mutually exclusive.
There is also a special case of narcissism, an adaptation that is so well concealed that most people would consider them really good guys. These are the communal narcissists. Like all narcissists, they have an inflated sense of self and also an insecurity. They feel the need to grasp the power and safeguard their grandiose self just like other narcissists. Their strategy to attain this is by portraying the role of a savior. They actively engage in social work, campaigning for ethical and altruistic causes. They present themselves as philanthropists with a massive heart, earning praise and attention for their efforts. At first glance, this may seem like purely good behavior. After all, if someone is doing good, they deserve praise. If they want recognition, why not give it? However, the goodness of communal narcissist is only a facade. The communal narcissist, much like the malignant narcissist, will do whatever it takes to maintain this appearance, even if it means harming those who might expose the truth. They can be manipulative, cruel, and destructive to protect their image. They lie easily and hurt others without hesitation. They do not do the good stuff because they believe in the good stuff, nor because their heart warms when they help a poor soul. Their heart warms when someone takes a photo of them helping the child and put it on social media. Their heart warms when other people start praising him for helping the poor child. They thrive on the praise they receive for their good deeds. Think of the politicians who are known for their publicized charity work. How often do their actions align with their own ego needs? Sebastian St. Clair from BoJack Horseman is a classic example of a communal narcissist. While he presents himself as a selfless philanthropist risking his life in war-torn countries to help the needy, his motivations are far from altruistic. His primary concern isn't about the people he claims to help, but the public admiration and acclaim he receives for his supposed heroism.
This way is the library I built, and over there is the statue of me building the library. And on that wall is a painting of me posing for the statue.
Sebastian is quick to publicize his exploits and uses them to build his brand, disregarding the actual impact of his actions on those he claims to serve.
Oh, put a chapter in your book about that. See, Diane, I told you not to make friends.
This superficial commitment to good deeds for personal gain encapsulates the essence of communal narcissism. While most children of narcissistic parents tend to develop narcissistic traits themselves, they can also diverge into different patterns or develop additional layers of complexity. In our previous video, we mentioned that all children start off as blank canvases, but we overlooked an important detail. The material of the canvas itself can vary, influencing how it reacts to parental influence. One such difference is the way children process emotions, whether they internalize or externalize their feelings. This distinction is seen in the anger versus sadness response, which leads to the different subtypes of emotional regulation. Another key factor is emotional sensitivity. Genetically, children can be more or less prone to emotional sensitivity. When a narcissistic parent has an emotionally sensitive child, the child's facade can be easily overwhelmed by intense emotions, such as embarrassment, shame, or sadness. When this happens, the facade often breaks and the individual may spiral into a state of extreme sadness, self-pity, or anger. During moments when they are not overwhelmed, the facade holds up, the entitlement remains intact, and they project an air of pride and superiority. However, when the emotional floodgates open, the defense system collapses and self-esteem plummets. As they recover, their self-esteem rebounds to narcissistic levels, creating a cycle. This pattern is characteristic of borderline personality disorder. which is defined by an unstable self image. The emotional sensitivity associated with borderline personality disorder can also lead to impulsivity, which manifests as intense anger or when sadness prevails, suicidal behavior. Because emotional sensitivity is genetically driven, borderline personality disorder is 5 times more common in first degree relatives of those with the disorder than in the general population. Additionally, since emotional sensitivity is far more prevalent in women, for reasons I'll discuss in a future video, about 75% of individuals diagnosed with borderline personality disorder are women. An early sign of borderline personality disorder is often selfishness at a young age, which is a result of emotional hypersensitivity. This leads to impulsive actions, many of which are self serving, as the impulses of toddlers and children are generally tuned to be self centered. It's only as we mature that we begin to learn empathy and emotional receptivity towards others. Most patients with borderline personality disorder improve over time, and after 10 years, 91% achieve remission of at least 2 months. So, if you know someone who you think exhibits these traits, gently let them know about it and guide them to get help. If there is flow, there is ebb. If there is more, there is less. On the other end of the spectrum lies the intellectual subtype, which, though not officially classified as a personality disorder, is an important phenomenon. These are children who have low emotional sensitivity, and therefore, when the narcissistic parent imparts emotional trauma, these children take up science, games, or pretty much anything where they can get lost in intellectuality and never have to bother about emotions. But don't make the mistake of thinking they have escaped the narcissistic parent's influence. No matter what they do in life, they will always feel like they have a hole in them. No matter what they achieve, they still feel like they need that something extra to feel good, feeling themselves not worthy of love. They too, like other narcissists, have trouble with their romantic relationships. One other interesting pattern in children with narcissistic parents is the histrionic personality disorder. Like other children of narcissistic parents, they crave validation, attention, and compliments. For a small subset of these love deprived children, their need for validation is fulfilled through overtly sexual behavior. This is especially effective for women, as societal dynamics often make sex appeal a powerful attention getter for women. Advertisers, for example, know that sex sells. It's an almost guaranteed way to draw attention. For these individuals, overtly sexual behavior becomes a strategic tool for seeking validation. They impress others with their dramatic, seductive actions and sexually charged remarks, often seeking admiration through their allure. A glance at social media will reveal many individuals using similar tactics to gain validation and attention. Like other narcissists, they may go to great lengths to keep the spotlight on themselves, manipulating situations and people to ensure that all eyes remain on them. At its core, narcissism involves an inflated sense of self importance, a grandiose self image. They have to be the talk of the town, always seeking validation to affirm their superiority. There's a constant need to dominate conversations, often steering everything back to themselves. They tend to have an exaggerated belief in their own abilities, status, and achievements, mostly followed by fragile self esteem. Though they may appear confident, they are often highly sensitive to criticism or perceived slights. The fragile self esteem results in need for admiration, and they constantly seek affirmation, praise, and attention from others. Their extreme self importance means their head is mostly up their ass and cannot see anyone else, leading to a lack of empathy. They have difficulty understanding or caring about the feelings and needs of others. They dismiss the emotions or needs of others while focusing solely on their own desires. A narcissist will often belittle others, either to elevate themselves or to maintain control. They might display an inflated sense of entitlement, expecting special treatments and becoming irritable when they don't get it. Their relationships are often transactional, based on what others can do for them rather than mutual support or understanding. Behind the surface, though, there is a fragile self esteem that must be constantly fed, or else it risks shattering, revealing the deep insecurity they work so hard to hide. Narcissism exists on a spectrum, ranging from healthy or adaptive narcissism to pathological forms, such as narcissistic personality disorder. While the core traits remain the same, there are different flavors to narcissism. No matter the flavor, narcissism hurts both the narcissist and the people around them. And yet, many narcissists don't even realize the damage that's been done to them and the damage done by them. Share this video with the people who are close to narcissists so that they can realize what's happening and progress towards healing. But what if you are a narcissist? How many of the struggles in your life actually stem from it? Narcissists often face challenges in their careers, relationships, and emotional well being, yet many remain oblivious to the root cause. Instead, they go through life confused, wondering why things never quite seem to work out. More importantly, when narcissists become parents, often unaware of their own issues, unconsciously transfer these issues to their children, continuing the cycle. The first step to healing from narcissism is recognizing it within yourself. But that's easier said than done. A narcissist's brain is wired to defend itself at all costs, crafting elaborate justifications for their behavior. Admitting the truth isn't just difficult, it goes against their very instincts. Introspection is a good first step, but it alone is not good enough for most people. Understanding your behavior requires more than introspection. It requires professional insight. We are often the least equipped to evaluate ourselves, especially after years of distorted self-perception. Confronting these emotions can be difficult, so it's essential to do so in a safe environment, ideally with the guidance of a therapist or a mental health expert. If you are unsure where to start, simple online tests can help you identify narcissistic traits and offer a starting point for deeper exploration. We will link some of them in the description. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into the complexities of human behavior. In the upcoming videos, we'll explore other personality disorders, observe various parenting styles, and examine how they shape children, both in the short term and the long term. Our channel is committed to opening up the human experience and exploring the functional intricacies of the brain. From love and consciousness to decision making, genius, humor, art, curiosity, and stupidity. Join us on this journey to better understand what makes us who we are and how we can grow, heal, and thrive. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay informed as we unravel the mysteries of the mind.